Hi ladies, this is Milan, just trying to get my camera straight here. So if you are chiming in live with me, let me know. I'm not sure if I'll see your comments at the bottom, but if I don't, no worries. I will get back to you in my comments after I'm done with this video. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing something I've never did before actually, and this should be quite interesting. So one, I want to tell you about my big win that I just posted about, but I also want to let you know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a braised cabbage. And before I tell you about my win, if you're watching this on a replay, just click replay. If you're watching it live with me, then give me a heart and let me know that you're watching this. So first I want to tell you about my win. So the beginning of this year, I had a request for a personal chef job, a personal chef client, and they were looking for a chef to cater their retreat, which was really interesting because last year, before the pandemic happened, I was already planning my own retreat here in Chicago. And as I was planning my retreat, of course, the pandemic broke out, so I had to cancel it, and I'd already, got place that I was going to use, this beautiful boutique hotel I was going to be using here in Chicago. And there were people already signing up on my, already on my list. So cancel the retreat, pandemic broke out. So here we are, the beginning of this year, and someone requests for a personal chef to do their corporate executive event. This one was interesting about that. It was a big win for me because that was my first catered event. And which is really interesting because I've been in the culinary field since 2010. So I've been in the culinary industry and in the wellness industry long before that. So when I got this invite to do this catered event, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it because I had never did anything like that before, quite honestly. I had never, on my own. I've always assisted other chefs. I've even, taught cooking to a cooking class, but for some reason I couldn't see myself personally doing a catered event by myself. And so I reached out to one of my chefs. I'm going to be making this, and actually I'm going to start cutting it already. So I'm making this braised cabbage. So you'll just listen to my story and watch me as I do this cabbage, because this is, like I said, this is a braised cabbage, and I'm gonna get back to my story. I will jump around a little, but my mother would make cabbage when I was growing up. However, the way she prepared cabbage is not how I prepare cabbage, and I feel that if you grew up in the household, you're familiar with all of your mother's recipes and you cook like your mother, something's wrong with that. Because if you have dined out a lot, if you've lived a life of maybe moving to another country, moving to another state, have eaten all these different cuisines or just delicious cuisines in different restaurants, gourmet restaurants, just different restaurants pre-COVID, and you're still cooking like your mother, there is a problem with that, because your lifestyle dictates for you to step up. Because if your lifestyle says one thing, then the way you dine at home should basically follow suit with that lifestyle. Okay, so I just want to make that point clear. So the way my mother cooked cabbage is not how I make cabbage. This is a very gourmet version of cabbage, but it's braised. The techniques are completely different. So back to my story as I cut this up. So I'm just going to cut this up in 6 parts. And so here we are. So I took on the client. Like I said, I was really nervous about the whole thing. And I did it. I went on and I took on, I'm going to cut this in 6 parts, by the way. So I took the client, a little nervous, but I still took the client because I had never did a catered event. So I was like, you know what? Can't be all that hard, right? So I took it because I'm like, I've been a personal chef before. I've cooked for people before. I mean, I'm trained in classical French cuisine and Latin cuisine. So all the background is there. So that part, the cooking was not a problem for me. It was, can I actually do this? Can I step outside of my comfort zone and do this? I think I'm gonna cut this off too. So I didn't come back. I stayed out there because it was just the best thing to do. And then I did it. So it was, they wanted a dinner. They wanted appetizers or dinner, and they wanted breakfast the next morning, and they wanted lunch the next afternoon as well. So I stayed overnight. I executed the menu. I put the menu together, and when I was finished with it, they loved it. But I stepped outside of my comfort zone and did something that I didn't do, because number one, there are certain elements that I needed to be aware of that I wasn't really thinking about, because that was my first time actually catering something before. Personal chefing is one thing. Doing a cooking class, that's completely different. It's easy. I'm teaching. I'm in my element. Cooking, personal chefing, that's easy. I'm in my element. But catering something, that's completely different, because there's a whole lot of new dynamics that come into play. So I did it, but I wasn't feeling good about it. So I called up my chef friend again. I'm like, hey, David, there's this, this thing. So I did this thing, and actually 2 weeks later, I had another request for it. So I was feeling really good about myself, obviously. So I had another request, and I was like, I did it once, I could do it again. But I still wasn't feeling 100% good about whether or not it was the best that I could do. So I called them up. I'm like, hey, you know what? I need some help. They want a server for the events. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I have 8 pieces, but it's okay. I really wanted 6 of these, so no big deal. So I'm going to turn my, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to braise these. First, I'm going to sear and caramelize these cabbage heads. These are the purple ones, or I guess you can call them red, but they're the purple ones. But you can buy the green ones if you want, but I just love the purple ones because I'm all about color when I cook and making sure that things look amazing, because you taste with your eyes, you taste with your nose, your olfactory glands, but you also taste with your eyes. So it's really important for me, and even when I teach students in my Chic Cooking Academy class, that everything looks pleasing to the eye. So, and then I'm going to add some olive oil. Once I add the olive oil, I'm going to sear my cabbage heads and then my cabbage wedges. And then after I sear them, I'm going to take them out, set them aside, and put in, I didn't use, you can do bacon. I didn't do bacon. I decided to do pepperoni instead. Bacon, pepperoni, okay, very close cousins to each other. The base animal is the same thing. So I decided to use pepperoni because I used this in another vegetable, braised greens, and it turned out amazing. So since I had some left over, I'm going to use them as well. So I'm using pepperoni, onion. I'm going to chop up. I'm going to do some apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to add in 2 cups of apple cider. So I'm putting in the apple cider vinegar. It will be a little tart, and then I'm going to tone it down with the apple cider. Then after I do that, I'm going to, once I sear these cabbage, I'm going to take them out. Then I'm going to start making my sauce and making sure my sauce is flavorful. Once the sauce is flavorful, then I'm going to add the cabbage back in, let it braise a little bit, and then I'll take it out, put it on a plate, which will be my serving platter. And then I'm going to add in some butter. In French, I even talk about this in my cooking class, monter au beurre, which means adding in butter. And that pretty much gives your soft sauce a very nice, silky, smooth texture. So that's what we're kind of looking for in the end. And then I'm just going to spoon it on top of my braised cabbage once I finish. So my pan is hot, so I'm going to add in olive oil. Also, one of the things in my cooking course, Chic Cooking Academy, I teach my students is that olive oil is not really my oil that I cook with, but I am braising vegetables, so I'm going to use it. But I never ever cook with olive oil. If you're cooking with your olive oil, wrong. And I know teachers should never say wrong, but if you're cooking with your olive oil, you are burning it, and you are removing all of those delicious and amazing benefits that your body actually needs from olive oil. So here, we're gonna start putting our cabbage in there. You know, I don't even need my tongs to do this. And I'm gonna put a couple in. I'm not gonna put a lot in because I don't want to crowd my pan out. But you've probably seen that on the cooking show. Hearing them say, don't crowd your pan out. I'm gonna have to talk a little louder because I don't want the sizzle to drown out me talking. So I'm just gonna put a couple in there. And then some of them are breaking a piece apart, but it's all right. And then, so I might put, I have 5 in now. I'm going to put the 6th one in there. And then if they look okay, then I'll add the other 2. So I'm just going to let these cook for about 3 minutes on each side, and then I'm going to take them out and put them to the side. And then after that, I'm going to add in my bacon, my pepperoni, and I'm going to add in my onion. So let's get back to the story. So I wasn't feeling, so the second client came up 2 weeks later for another event, and I wasn't really sure exactly if it was, I was like, you know what, stupid, I'm just going to do this thing. I'm really going to do this because it was so much fun the first time, and so I decided to do it the second time. And when I did it the second time, that's when I called my friend, the chef, David. I'm like, David, you got to come help me. So David has been, he's been a personal chef a lot longer than I have. He doesn't have the wellness background that I have, but he has that background. And both of us went to culinary school. I just, our style of cooking is slightly similar, but a little different because I love very gourmet foods, foods that leans more towards the Mediterranean. So when I'm cooking or teaching in my cooking academy, it's always foods that lean towards the Mediterranean, very chic foods, very elegant, but at the same time they're very healthy. So I said, hey, I need somebody to come help me. And he said, you know what, I'll come help you. So he came out to help me, which I was so glad. So he was my server for the evening, and since he was my server, turn this down a little. I'm going to be braising this, but I just wanted to make sure that they are, let me show you. You see how they're browning? This is what I'm looking for. So I wanted caramelization. In my cooking class, I always show you exactly what I'm looking for. So I just wanted to caramelize these a little on each side. So about maybe 3 minutes each. And so I said, you know, why don't you come out with me? I need a server. So he came out with me. He was my server. And I was like, well, you know, we did it. He was like, he loved my menu, which was a huge compliment to me. So after my event, he says to me, and I paid him. I feel like anybody's, you know, anyone that works deserves to be paid for their time. So, you know, I paid him, and I'm all about, when you give other people, it always comes back to you. So no matter what I give, it always comes back to me. So I said, he said, you know what, your menu is amazing. He said, but, he said, why don't you come with me the next time on one of my events, and I'll show you exactly how I do it. I'm like, perfect. This is an opportunity to get some training from somebody else. And that's the other thing. I'm all about investing. I learned that there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know how to do something. A lot of times we pride ourselves on, you know what, I kind of want this, you know, this isn't too bad because I don't want this to fall apart too much because I'm going to be braising it in the liquid again. So I'm just going to take this out and set it aside. And then, oh my goodness, I wish you could be here with me. You could smell this. So I'm going to take this out because if I keep cooking this, it's going to fall apart. and I don't want that. So I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put the other two in. So this is pretty. I just wanted to, I don't know if you can see that. If you can see that, just put a comment. Yes, I see the brownie. And if you're making this at home, you definitely don't want it to fall apart. You want it to stay together because that's where the beauty is going to be. You want it to stay together. This one slightly fell apart, but it's okay. So I have two more. I'm just going to finish these two up, and then I'll let you see what it all looks like. So I'm going to put that to the side. So I'm definitely, but I'm only doing this a little while. In here, like I said, in my cooking class, I explain all about why you shouldn't do this, what is the best oil to use, and how to get the best flavors from your oil. And make sure you stay healthy at the same time. So I'm just going to braise this side for a little, and then while that's braising, I'm going to turn it around again. Watch me, and I'm just going to cut up my onion. I'm going to cut this in medium dice if you be taken up. Like I said, remember, I don't want this to burn off. So this is fine. And I'm going to get started with everything else. Okay, this one's fine. There's a little browning on that one. And next we're going to add just some, I'm not going to go back and add in olive oil because I don't want that smoke point happening. So I'm going to add in some grapeseed oil. Just to tone some of that heat down for me. And I'm looking for my thing. If you know me by now, you know I always use one of these whenever I'm cooking. My bench scraper. So I'm just going to put my onions in there, and then I'm going to turn it back around so that it's not going to burn. So, in order for this to caramelize, I need to add a little bit of seasoning to this. My onion, everything I'm building flavor, so I want to make sure that the flavors are there on the foundation, and then it'll come to my end result. So just caramelizing my onions a little, which you should be able to see inside my pan. Perfect. And then my next step is to add in my pepperoni, which is also fat. This is going to give me some fat without adding a lot of fat. So I went out with them and I realized two things I learned. I learned organization, okay, maybe three, hospitality, and I learned management, time management. And that is something that transcends into everything that I do. Hospitality and management, time management. And that's also one thing I teach in my cooking class. Time management in the kitchen. A lot of women don't like to cook because it takes too long. They're not really exactly sure what they're doing in terms of like pairing foods and mixing foods. They're not really sure, and they lose time. So cooking can become more like a chore instead of something that you enjoy. And cooking is very relaxing. Cooking is it's a beautiful experience. If you love art, you know, Van Gogh or any one of the most beautiful paintings out there, or love going to art exhibits. Well, not right now because we're in COVID. Oh, that makes me sad. But if you love art, then you would love to cook because it's arts. It's the culinary arts. The culinary arts, it's like bringing your paints to this beautiful empty canvas and then making all the colors come together in this beautiful, amazing way. And that's what you're doing when you're cooking. You're taking all these colors of red and white and green and yellow, and you're bringing these colors together to make something amazing, special, and delicious, okay? So that's what I learned, and that's why it was a big win for me, because I started taking that and I said, well, you know what, let me apply this to every client moving forward. Let me apply what I learned from him, from all of my personal chef clients to all of my my wellness clients hospitality, because everyone likes to feel special. And even when we're at home, there's an element of hospitality that we bring to the table, whether it's being hospitable to your family if you're cooking for them. So now that my bacon is perfect, I'm going to add in, now I'm going to turn my heat down because I'm adding in vinegar. There's no, alcohol in this, but I'm going to add in my vinegar. And now I'm going to add in my, I just wanted that to cook down a little. And now I'm adding in my apple cider. So as I'm adding in my apple cider, I'm lifting up what's on the bottom of this skillet, because all of my delicious flavor is right here in the bottom of my skillet. This is I'm making a sauce right now. So my burners are on like a medium heat, and I'm gonna finish adding in my apple cider. You're like, apple cider and apple cider vinegar in a sauce? That sounds crazy. I know it really does, but this is just gonna be amazing. One, because this is everything that I like. I like apples. The apple cider vinegar is more of a sweetness, and then the apple cider is the acidity. But the apple cider vinegar is acidic. The apple cider is sweet. So together, they're going to tone down and flavor and actually bring more warmth to the braised cabbage and make it that much more delicious of a sauce. So I'm going to turn my heat up a little bit more. Finish, put that in. And as this starts to boil, now I'm going to add my braised cabbage that we made earlier. So I'm going to put those right back into my sauce, because my cabbage braised, I put it in this pot because I wanted to keep it close to me. So I'm going to add this back in. And then adding this back in, I am going to be starting my braising. So I'm just going to lay this in. But so when you're hospitality, it exceeds beyond us. Sometimes we forget to be hospitable at home. And when we have guests come to our home, pre-COVID, you bring out the best china, you bring out your best plates, everything. But then sometimes when it comes to family, we don't always give them that same treatment of hospitality. So every time you cook, even for yourself, we allow time to dictate what we do for ourselves, that we don't allow ourselves to experience hospitality. And when you miss that one element, you are also missing the opportunity to give yourself and show yourself self-love. So if that makes sense to you, give me, let me know in the bottom. It's so beautiful. I just love the purple. I love purple cabbage. I really like this. This is amazing. So put that out of the way, and I'm gonna add salt. Now, I did salt my sauce, but I'm gonna add a little bit more sauce to my greens, the cabbage greens. But I want to taste this because this will be the foundation of my sauce. It's already starting, so I want to make sure that this is good. And I wish you were here, you could taste this with me. So I'm going to taste it. Ooh. Oh my goodness, that is so good. Okay, the first impression is always the impression that matters most. So that is so good. Oh my goodness. That is so good. I'm sorry. I have to say it again. That is so good. Oh my goodness. So what I'm going to serve with this, you can serve this with any protein. I'm going to, because this is red, I wouldn't do it with the steak personally, but you can. I wouldn't do it with the steak because it's red, and then the color of the steak is red, or then it turns brown. But I would do it with something white, like a white fish. Any white fish. If you're not allergic to like crustaceans, you can do it with that as well. I'm allergic to some seafoods like shrimp, so I would never do it with the shrimp. But a beautiful white fish will work perfect with this. You can even do it with chicken. I picked up a couple of days ago. I just did this like mass grocery shopping, and I picked up, oh, thanks for the hearts, thank you. And I picked up like some chicken thighs and some other stuff. So let's see, my husband may want that, so I'm going to do that for him. So I'm going to turn my heat to low, and look at that. Wait a minute, let me see. Let me see. Okay, see, I'm getting excited now. But let me see if I can turn this over for you, okay? So I'm going to turn it over, let you see, but if you can, well, you can see this, okay. So you can see the top side, which is beautiful. The purple color just pops. It's almost becoming like a deep purple, but a lot slightly lavender. And on the other side, let me see if I can lift it without disturbing. I don't want to disturb, you know, the wedges and break them apart. But let's see. Okay. So this is the other side. See how pretty that is? And then this is my, so this will be my presentation side. So I'm going to leave that up and let that be the presentation side. So to make sure that my braised cabbage still gets the taste, I'm going to, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them below. I can see your comments now. So my braised cabbage, I'm going to, instead of turning it over, because I don't want to turn it over just yet, because if I keep turning it over, I'm going to actually disturb the wedges and I'll cause them to break apart. So what I'll do instead, if you are serving a bunch of people, you definitely don't want to keep dipping into the food, you know, your spit in the food. It's just, that's just my thing. So what you can do is take a spoon and add the sauce on top of it. So now your cabbage wedges gets some of this nice sauce. So that's exactly what I would do. And it's so pretty. So I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna put my top on it and put this on low, let it braise a few minutes. Now, while this is braising, it's probably been sitting there for about a good 10 minutes, so I'll give it another 10 minutes, and once it finished, I will take the cabbage out and then put it back on the top and take it off the heat and then put in my butter. And then the butter will give it a nice consistency, a nice sort of a velvety texture or a heaviness to the sauce without there being flour like a roux. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And if you can see, making a sauce is not really that complicated. Something else I teach in my cooking class is how to make sauces. So so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be starting another round of students in my cooking class. If you're interested in that, just let me know, send me a message. I will be starting another round for the cooking course. This is a cooking course. It's a 7-week course, and you are learning how to braise, sear, saute, how to know when to add spices and herbs how to know when to cook with herbs, or buying herbs, buying dried spices. So you learn all of that in the cooking course. So when you've finished, you'll be an amazing cook. And of course, their wine. You can't have food without wine, right? So let's see what this looks like now. Ooh, let me taste it again. You gotta taste it again. That is so good. That is so delicious. You got to try this. You have to try this, seriously. So now that this is practically ready, let me just take a fork, go through it. So I want the fibrous cabbage to break down because I don't want to eat it and it's still crunchy. So I want to eat it with a nice softness. So I'll go through. Some parts of it will still be like, you can see the fibrous part of the cabbage because it's white, but I want to make sure that it breaks down to where it's not crunchy as we eat it, but at the same time it's not soggy either and overly cooked and wilted. But keeping that top on is allowing it to cook down a little. So as this cooked down, I'm going to, I was thinking about making chicken thighs with this, but all of a sudden, because this is so beautiful and red, which is why I feel that the purple cabbage would work better with this entree versus the white one, or it's like a slight pale green. I just feel that this one works a lot better in the color. You can see it's much prettier. So I'm going to let that cook for a little bit, and I'm going to give it about 3 minutes, take it out, put it on my platter, and then put my butter in. So now we can do that. And then, so I'm gonna put this, I'm running out of space. So I'm gonna bring it over here. I wanted to get it off my hands because my hands are starting to burn. So I'm gonna put that over there, and then I'm gonna take my cabbage out. See, look how pretty that is. It almost looks like a steak. Excited, I'm excited right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and plate it. Because remember I said in the beginning of this video that hospitality goes a long way. Hospitality is about treating yourself, taking care of yourself. It's about self-care, eating with the eyes, eating with the senses. So I'm going to plate this beautifully, and then I'm going to put my sauce right on top of it, right down the middle. So you'll see. It's not falling apart, but that's okay. I'm going to take the last one and put it aside. You know, this is really good because we don't eat enough vegetables in our diet. You know, whatever you are, whether it be paleo, keto, like I said, pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan. I found a lot of people don't eat as many vegetables as they should eat because they don't really know what to do with them all. If they do, they stick with the same vegetables. So now I'm going to add in my butter. And the butter, I'm going to turn my heat up just a little and whisk it in, because I'm going to break it up. So this is the sauce. It's going to go on top. Like I said, most people don't know what to do with the vegetables. And when they do, the only vegetables that they eat are vegetables from, I love veggies too. So the only ones that they typically eat are salad or something that's overcooked. So you can see how easy it is to, there's some vegetables that you can braise. Not all of them you can, some of them you can. Some of them you can, some you can. So the ones you can are the ones that are very fibrous, that holds together, like this one, this cabbage, leeks, Belgian endive can also be braised. And actually, I'm going to do that one tomorrow because I picked some Belgian endives up and I picked up some leeks. So I want to put those together and cook them. again. And if you do this, make sure you do it on a white plate and a platter, because you want to make sure that you use, this is a canvas, this is your painting, this is your creative arts, so you want to make sure that it shows, that your works show as well. So I'm going to take this and put it on top. Here, let me show you. So I'm just take it and put it on top, just like that. You don't have to use all of the sauce on top, because then it would, well, as you can see, there's like, it's going to be white. The plate is not going to stay white. You want to make sure you clean up your nice canvas around the edges. Presentation means everything, everything. And then I would love to, I'm thinking maybe chop some parsley and put it on the top, but this is so pretty, I want to just leave it this way. Serve it, bring the restaurant home element to yourself. We can't go out and dine, so you might as well bring it home. And one of the students who I'm signing up for next week, she said to her husband, this was hilarious, she said to her husband, she said, she said, honey, babe, she said, if I do this cooking course, she said, do you know what that means? I didn't even know what it meant. She's like, do you know what this means? That means I will be unstoppable. So she saw this as an opportunity for her to up-level herself, for her to gain more knowledge and insight into the world of culinary arts, and up her game of cooking at home. And I personally, I feel this is training. This is a part of our life that transcends into other part.